Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, my name is Diaz, author of the Titus Concept and producer of the film Beyond Hope. Welcome everyone to another opportunity to rewrite your story. A show that will inspire and empower as many people as possible, including myself, trigger shift and change, ascension through love, raise levels of awareness, discover new dimensions that represent liberation, shatter what no longer serves us for our best and highest good, the freeing of our heart for our own personal greatness, awaken in a gentle, loving, creative way as possible. Today we have Javier Correa, who defines herself as someone who is passionate about exploring the potential of the human existence, owner of 1133 Podcast and JaviHando.com. She has been leader of environmental movements and a business entrepreneur for 10 years. Ultimately, though, she is here to support and assist the awakening process of the truth of who we are. She does one-on-one consultancy, and conscious manifestation has been one of her main topics of interest. Javi and I will share our insights on conscious manifestation as the fun part of spirituality. First, a couple of announcements. Continue to check back here on Blog Talk Radio on the Rewrite Your Story host page for upcoming shows and co-hosts. Also, go to rewritestory.com for a very special gift that we're giving away. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on my good friend, Javi. Javi, welcome.
Diaz, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really talking and, bringing to the table.
Awesome, and I greatly appreciate you being on the show. And for the audience, just she's calling all the way in from Bali. So how's everything in Bali today, and how are you doing?
Oh, Bali, it's just such a beautiful place and with beautiful people. And the weather amazing as well. So Bali is doing great, and I'm doing really well as well.
Well, congratulations. So our topic is conscious manifestation is the fun part of spirituality. So I'm going to break up this topic a little bit and get your perspective on some of these words. To you, what is manifestation?
Right. Thank you for that question. It's a really good question to start with. So manifestation, I would say there are many definitions of what manifestation is, but the one that I like the most is that it's our natural ability to influence reality or to create reality, right? And I like to make a distinction between what manifestation is and what conscious manifestation is. So that word consciousness is actually what's making the difference right now. We are constantly manifesting our reality from most of the time, though, from an unconscious programs. We can call them belief systems or something like that. And now what we are doing is bringing consciousness to something that we do naturally all the time, and that's the trick.
Interesting. And here's another word I want to ask you. From your perspective, what is spirituality? Wow, spirituality.
That's a big one. Tapping into that question, ultimately, and this is my personal opinion, I like to be aware, not to separate spirituality to anything. I like to say that everything is spiritual, and who we are, just who we are, is spirituality.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is our core essence is spirituality. Yes,
I wouldn't separate spirituality than anything else, though. Like in practical ways, when we say spirituality, we could say that we are putting our focus into remembering who we are, or applying tools that remember us who we are. And that can be,
awesome.
Yoga. It could be any spiritual practice, and we call them spiritual practices. But these are practices that ultimately what they do is that we tap into that is, it was me, or those truths that are the same truths for everyone, such as love or being, you know.
So is there, from your perspective, is there any difference between, let's say, spirituality and awareness? Or do you feel they're one and the same?
Great questions, Al. Big questions. You're challenging me here. I love it. I would say they are tremendously linked. Someone who you might find someone who practices spirituality usually has a lot of awareness. Usually someone who is conscious or aware of his own choices, he's able to respond instead of react. So I would say awareness it's a tool or a consequence of someone who is closer to themselves. And I would say they're totally related.
You know, and thank you for sharing your perspective. You know, I know when I started to be awakened, or started on my journey of my awakening, and that's another word you could throw in there: awakening, awareness, conscious, spiritual. But I know when I started to awaken, I all these words started coming towards me, and people started saying that I was spiritual. People were saying I was becoming more aware, more conscious. I was becoming awakened, and I believe all four of those words. And the bottom line is I was recognizing or remembering who I am, versus being the false personality that I had lived for 40 years, or from the ego, and so as I evolved, you know, and again, you know, people still say I'm spiritual and all that, but the bottom line is instead of a title, if there's a description that I would use, is to remember or to recognize, you know, who I am. So when people ask me, you know, so Al, what are you doing, or any question, I'm just remembering who I am, and by indicating that, I think it encompasses, you know, the awakening, the consciousness, the spirituality, you become who you're meant to be, and the reason why we are here. But I have a silly question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's part of our topic. From your perspective, what is fun?
Oh, well, first of all, I love what you were saying. I love that you were tapping into consciousness. I love that you were tapping into awareness, and I love that you are saying that you remember who you are. Right? I just want to add something there that. And this is something that I want to share, right? Ultimately, actually what we are looking for is ourselves in the most literal way, right? An awakening, like an extreme awakening, would be actually to realize, you know, realization of self. It could be also you could say it's realization of consciousness, which is who we are. So consciousness could be also described as everything. Awareness is that expansion of perception, and spirituality is that focus on those tools or those habits. That could be anything. I mean, I'm not saying what we consider spirituality, but into that expansion of awareness that leads us to remember who we are. So, having said that, fun. You know, fun is that joy of life. Is that, if you want to put it in more technical words, and why it is important to spirituality, is because fun it's a high vibrational activity. Let's call it that way. And high vibration activities, what they do is that they approach us to our core, which is joy, which is love, and light. That's more or less our core in this, you know, paradigm. So, and that's what we are unlocking as well. So fun, it's really important, and we forget that many times. And I have to remember that to myself continuously. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Fun has to be part of your life, or joy has to be part of your life. Otherwise, life would be boring. Okay, so let's get to our topic then. Thank you for the clarification on some of these words. Conscious manifestation as the fun part of spirituality. So how do you talk to me about that? What's that all about?
Okay, cool. Right. So, I like to call it the fun part of spirituality because we're speaking about conscious manifestation. When people just start tapping into this new concept or tapping into this idea that we can influence reality, that we can actually attract what we want, when we don't need to put so much effort, physical effort. Instead, we should put our focus into making shift within ourselves, right? And when we create the shift within ourselves, and we apply some simple tools that higher our vibration and attract what we want, and the external world responds to our internal shifts, what happens is that you're actually doing a spiritual practice when you are putting your focus into a life that is more joyful, a life that is in purpose, a life that it has less drama. What happens is that your conscious manifestation abilities grow so fast and so powerful. Then you will think about something, and that thing will show up in your life could be actually minutes even, which is it's like amazing. It's jaw-dropping. It's fascinating, and it becomes really fun. So that's why I call it the fun part of spirituality. The fact that we influence reality, it becomes easier, and it's a byproduct of getting in touch to who we are and that natural ability of influencing or creating reality.
I know humanity experiences quite a bit, and that's if they want something good if they want something good to happen, it may take some time, a day, a week, a month, a year, a few years, before it quote unquote manifests itself. But on the flip side, if you think of something negative or something you don't like or that's uncomfortable, it almost feels like it happens in seconds or in a day or two. Why the difference?
In this case, what I would say, it's because we believe that, and we are so used to have negative thoughts, right? That's our average pattern, unfortunately, at a global scale. So because we believe that's easier, and because we haven't worked, for example, many times in our self-worth or just knowing that we are enough, we have resistance to positive thoughts become real in a fast way. We have too many walls, right, that say, I don't deserve that, or I'm not good enough to have that, or I should work for it. So on the opposite side, it's like most people might have the belief that, of course it's happened, something negative. So I would say it's mainly because, we're more used to negative thoughts, unfortunately, than positive ones.
Bravo, Javi. That's a great answer, and I totally agree with you. It all comes down to what our belief systems are. What is it that we believe to be true? And even if consciously we disagree with the beliefs, if our subconscious, has those beliefs cemented within the subconscious mind, which is more powerful than the conscious mind, then those beliefs, the ingrained beliefs, is what's going to quote unquote manifest. And and as you said, unfortunately, humanity has a tendency to believe in more in the negativity than the positive. So what can a person do today to start switching that around, to start having more fun and more conscious manifestation? What can he do to turn that around?
First of all, I want to say that I love that you make a distinction, on your subconscious, that you're bringing the subconscious into the table, right? Because it's important to know this, because related to your question, we do many conscious steps. We can follow the recipe or our recipe, right, to start manifesting consciously. But if we are not aware of our subconscious programs and follow and tap into that, right, into that I would say that if you're interested in this topic, put yourself in contact with someone like Al, for example, someone who understands the subconscious as well, and work with the subconscious, because as you were saying, it's much more powerful, right? So having said that, your question was, what can we do?
Yes.
To tap into
how can we turn it around? How can if somebody in the audience, for them, it's very easy for them to manifest negativity, and they want to instead of doing that automatically, they want to start doing conscious manifestation, and that it's also fun. How can they start going on that journey instead of the same old thing that's been going on through their whole life?
Right. So that's a great question. So the first step would be to be aware of our thoughts, right? So what am I thinking right now? And where am I putting my attention? So start being aware of where you're putting your focus during your day, right? And that means, like, what am I thinking? Then how am I feeling? And start making that connection, that self-awareness of my thoughts are related to how I'm feeling, and choosing something different. So at the beginning, most of the times it's really hard, right? Because we are breaking a habit, and we've been thinking the same kind of like fear-based thoughts because of the media, because of the way that we might have been raised, and when we make a conscious choice of observing our thoughts, then other things that you can do is look at your close environment, the friends that I relate mostly with. I would turn off the TV. And I would start playing with the concept of conscious manifestation. That means as simple as start asking. I would say start asking what you want, like connect with that your heart really wants. Be aware of your thoughts, right? And start like putting different thoughts there. Like if I'm saying, for example, if I'm scared of something, if my thoughts are fear-based, or like, I'm scared that a war is going to happen at a global scale, let's think something different. Let's put our boat and our thoughts that I am so happy there is no war right now in my reality, right? So I guess I'm tapping into many different ideas right now. But let me know if I'm in the right direction.
No, it's good, Javi, because there's different aspects of dealing with your thought process, dealing with your subconscious mind, dealing with your reality, dealing with manifestation, and so whatever you're sharing, it'll resonate for different people. So no, it's great. I appreciate you coming from all different angles. So let me ask you. I don't know if you came into this world, fully aware, or you had an awakening like I did. Only you're much younger than I am, so you probably had your awakening at a much earlier age than I did. So what is the difference? What is the difference in your life right now compared to what it once was?
Well, that question could be answered in so many ways. But because you were tapping into how did I come into this world and if I had an awakening, right? Definitely, definitely. I would say because, and we talk about this a little bit on when we were talking the other day, right, Al? And you were asking this question, and I thought it was a good one. So I'm someone who, since I have memory, I remember having this sense or this knowing that there was with reality itself. Like it was almost something that my skin would feel uncomfortable with, right? So I became, you could say, a spiritual searcher, or just someone who was looking for what that was from when I had memory. And yes, I had some glimpses of like, whoa, awakening. And I did have a really big one around 7 years ago, where I just tapped into, let's say, universal consciousness, and that blissful, amazing, peaceful, beyond the mind state of realization of who we are. So that experience itself showed me that yes, there was something that I was looking for was actually myself, and that it's a state of being of beyond. Oh, this is such a big topic, but yeah, what I want to say is that there is a more expanded, truthful state that is eternal, that is who we are, that is real, right? And now we are in that path of remembering that, and this is an experience. I would say that way.
And what is your experience now? What is different now before your awakenings?
Okay, so well, I have certainty in a way. So before the awakening, I had a knowing, but I didn't have certainty, or I didn't have the experience. Now I can say I have certainty. That is key, though it has been a journey, right? Then the integration, it's been challenging as well. So what I wanted to share now is that even like maybe 2 to 3 years ago, when I diligently put my focus into, you know what, my life, I choose a life that is going to be fulfilling 100%, and I mean that on my relationships, and I mean that on the food that I eat, and I mean that on that, what is my main focus? What is it that I value the most? What is the most important thing for me? So, and I went traveling. I had finished my studies and everything, and I had some businesses, and I went traveling on that self journey, and knowing that it's like finding that would really, really fulfill my heart, and from finding that, then put my focus into that, like really narrowing it down. And that comes into consciousness and assisting that process of consciousness. It can be in so many different ways, but having that core knowing that is what I enjoy the most, right? Finding our joy. It has been something that has been key to now living a life, that I appreciate so much, and appreciate so much the people I have around me.
I want to thank you, Javi, for introducing me to a word that I never really gave it much thought, and it's phenomenal. And as you know, I have an inner knowing. I just know things, which is different from intuition. But to have the word that you introduced me to was certainty. That is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. To be certain of something, which I believe adds another level of knowing, and I appreciate that, because it takes my knowing into a more powerful, higher level, and because when people ask me, so Al, how do you know? How do you know? I go, I just have this knowing. But it's because I'm certain. I just know. So I appreciate you bringing that back into. I mean, obviously, I'm aware of the word, but I didn't have it connected to knowingness. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Out of curiosity, Javi, I know. So you chose a topic for our show, and you chose the word manifestation. Why manifestation rather than say create, attract, or allow? Why manifestation?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Actually, I wonder the same. I would say that all of those concepts are totally related. If not, you could say almost like they are the same. Allowing, it's a key aspect of manifestation. Creation and manifestation, I would say they are almost the same. Conscious creation or conscious manifestation. Maybe creation feels like I am creating, and manifestation feels maybe it's like I am allowing that to be created. It's very subtle, but what I'm tapping just now that I'm talking to you is that the concept of might be, and I'm just saying might be, a little bit too in contradiction or too in conflict with our belief that there is, and I'm going to say that there is a creator out of ourselves. So this is a big one. So this is a big social belief that might, we need to, have baby steps on this as well. I don't know if I'm being clear on this one. So when we say we allow, that is more in accordance with our comfort zone of beliefs, rather than saying I create. Ultimately, actually, you're not creating. It's just you're allowing creation to be. Yeah, a little bit messy my answer, but that is what comes to me right now.
Awesome. Javi, I greatly appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your insights, and I congratulate you at a very young age that you are so awakened. As my audience knows, it took me 40 years to wake up, to even start waking up. So I congratulate you that at a very early age, you decided to understand or become aware and are more conscious of what your life is about. So that's phenomenal, and I trust that you are creating a ripple effect for all of humanity to become even more awakened. So that's awesome. Do you have any final thoughts or comments for our audience, and do you have any announcements?
Thank you all. And I just want to say something that is that awakening can happen at any age, and it has nothing to do with length of time, right? And I strongly believe, actually, it's knowing that we are accelerating our awakening day by day. Like the more people that are tapping into this willingness of waking up, the more it gets easier and easier for everyone. So I would allow, that word, I love it. It's like I would allow. Just invite people to 1133podcast.com. The concept there is to explore and empower the human experience through inspirational interviews. So interviewing people as you, like you, right? Like people who are inspirational, people who expand our belief systems. And when we expand our belief systems, we allow a more expanded life, a more creative life, something that is out of our comfort zone, something that is out of what we believe is possible right now. Because we allow that, things are going to start coming to our life. We start hiding our vibration, and we start waking up. We start feeling more joyful, and we start tapping into who we are. So that is what 1133 Podcast is all about. So that would be my message, Al.
Thank you, Javi. And for the audience, have you had enough of what you're going to do? Contact me, and let's rewrite your story from your existing pain to purpose that allows you to have the life you truly desire. My email address is al.diaz4love@gmail.com. Thank you all for joining us. And remember that everything in our past, present, or future is for our best and highest good. wherever you are at, have a great day or wonderful evening. Javi, you are simply amazing. Thank you for being a joyous blessing in our life.
Thank you so much, Al. I really, really appreciate you, and I appreciate this.
Have a great day.
You too.